the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Can sit in a chair to prove Stephen A wrong on Twitter, I saw today, and I'm just like,
weird flex.
It's dark times, and I love Lonzo, and I'm a big LaMelo guy, and it really sucks to see what happened, because people forget the Bulls were a number 1 seed for a little bit, and it looked really promising before injuries and everything else derailed what they were cooking up there in the Windy City. But we have some Atlanta sports stuff to talk about, and my question to you, kick this to Max first. Your favorite, because reading through the tea leaves, I think Capela is not going to be on the roster before the season starts. I don't think he's going to be the opening night starting center. It just seems like that's where we're headed. I think if all things considered, if the Hawks were able, they would have already moved him this summer, maybe draft night. It seems like that's kind of where things are headed. But if you had to put together your favorite Hawks trade for Landry Fields, do his job for him, Max, what is the Clint Capela trade for you that would make you happiest?
I don't have a good answer to this. First of all, I'm glad you came around on the Capela thing. You've been saying for months that they won't trade Capela. He's Trae's guy. I believe last episode we had, you asked us what the percentage chances are he'd be on the roster to begin next year. I said 95% no. And then I also said I don't think he'll be on the roster to begin this year.
Yeah.
I just think they want to see a Kongwu. So like for me, the ideal trade would be like sort of a replacement level center and then like a first. If they could get a first out of Capela, which I don't know if they can. I don't. The thing with this team is like you don't want more depth pieces. So like you're not looking to turn Capela into like 2 or 3 depth pieces. You're looking for probably to recoup some future draft capital, and they're gonna need another center, right? I don't know if that team is Dallas. I haven't heard about whether that has become. I mean, I think that trade has been on again, off again all off season. Yeah. So that's my best answer. But really, honestly, to me, any Capela trade is a good trade because it gives more time to Okongwu.
What do you think, Garrett?
I think he's right. I mean, you're not trading Clint Capela for anything less than a first round pick or something that's going to make you better right now. And I mean, I'd like the starting level because I don't know what you're going to go get for him at this point. And he'd be part of a bigger package. That's kind of where I see him fitting in. He's just not a big enough piece to really justify moving if it's just a 1-for-1. Like, I don't know if he's worth a depth player, a depth center, and a first round pick. He may not be. I think he's a really good player, and I think he's got a good role in this team. But he's going to be involved with a number of other pieces if that's the move that's going to be made. Like maybe a DeAndre Hunter, or maybe you throw in a Bogey, or I don't really know who else you would throw in there, but I don't want to see him go unless this team is getting better right now, because you've got a superstar entering his prime. And these are the types of years that you really risk souring your star, because if you just throw away basketball seasons, that's just a recipe for disaster. And we've seen it happen with players time and time again in the NBA. And I just really don't want to see that for Trae. I think this team is good enough as constructed to be a better basketball team this year, just with Quinn Snyder and a little bit more continuity and consistency at the top. But if you're trading Clint Capela, we better see a starter out of it. That's my only thing.
I don't think they're going to get a starter out of it. And I don't even know if necessarily you need a starter for Capela. I'd actually just rather get 2 depth pieces. And I think the trade for me is the Mavericks. Luka loves the pick and roll more than any other superstar in this league. Harden used to be this role. It's Luka Doncic now. Like, you watch a Mavs game, that man is looking for 97 pick and rolls every single game. And it's just impossible to stop because there's nothing you can do with the Luka pick and roll when it's effective. And Clint Capela, we've seen what he's done with Trae, and it would be a seamless fit. I understand why there's a Mavericks interest there with their kind of dearth of guys, and Derek Lively is going to maybe be the long-term answer there at the 5 for Dallas, but you would like a placeholder, and I think Capela actually fits that really well and would be a seamless fit. I think it's Dwight Powell and Tim Hardaway Jr. for Capela. The money works. Hardaway's been a Hawk before. I think with the Wesley Matthews signing, with kind of what Quinn Snyder has done in the past, I think we're going to see a lot of high pick and roll basketball with 3 shooters around Trae. And I think if you're able to bring in another one and Tim Hardaway Jr. To help guys like AJ Griffin and Jalen Johnson and Sadiq Bey and insert name here, like you want as much shooting on this roster as possible would be my guess. And then Dwight Powell is just a solid backup option for Onyeka. And I think that would be the best case scenario. It gives Onyeka the full blown starting 5 opportunity and also just some quality depth behind him, a guy who's played a lot of important minutes and just been a solid role player in Dwight Powell, who you're fine being your 8th or 9th guy. And then Tim Hardaway is someone who probably plays his way in and out of the rotation, older guy, but when he's on, he's extremely helpful and it's just another vet shooter that I think the Hawks were missing last year.
I just don't think Dallas does it, honestly. I get the rationale. Like I kind of do think this team needs another guard a little bit. Like,
yeah,
the more I think about it, I think they need another guard. Like, I don't think it doesn't really seem like Buffkin's going to be able to contribute right away. They have AJ, obviously. Like, you can only count on Bogey for 55 games a year, maybe. And so beyond that, it gets kind of thin. But I'm also like, I don't know, like the Hawks are weirdly one of the deepest teams in the NBA, like in terms of like rotational guys who can play and who they want to play. And I just don't know if cashing in one role player / starter for 2 does much. Like at that point, I'm maybe just like, I don't know. I think I would do that trade. Like I think both of those guys are good, solid NBA players who improve your team. I just don't know why Dallas would.
It also almost feels like a move to make a move. I don't really get a lot out of it. I mean, it's I like Max said, like I understand the rationale. I know why you would do it. I know why both teams would do it theoretically. But I don't know how much better either team necessarily gets per se. Maybe it adds some depth. It just feels like a move to make a move to me. It just doesn't really move the meter too much. But I mean, that doesn't mean it's a bad move, but I don't know. It's just, I don't really have much of an opinion on it, truthfully.
Is Capela an expiring this year, or does he have one more year after that?
I thought he had 2 more years.
1 more year.
So, okay. So he and Hardaway.
He has this year and then next year, and that's it.
Be on the same time frame. I think Hardaway's a free agent after 25.
Yeah. No. Yes, they're the same. And then Powell is 3. He has 3 years total if you include this year.
Yeah,
he's making $8 million. Like
Hardaway's like, he's had a really interesting career, and has become kind of a guy that, like when he's on, he's really important for Dallas. Like because they need guards like that who can sort of play both ways. Don't need the ball, can spot up and shoot and be happy with that, but also can initiate when they do. Bill Simmons on his podcast mentioned this stat that Luka Doncic leads the NBA in field goals made without being assisted. At 84% of his field goals are unassisted.
Yeah.
That is stunning. So like Dallas just needs guys like Powell and Hardaway and Finney Smith filled this role when he was there, where it's like, just do your job, be there when things break down, make a 3, rim run, and like let it be the Luka
Get the ball
show.
to Luka.
It's just kind of funny to me that like Luka gets none of the shit that Trae gets about like he's probably the highest volume usage rate guy in the NBA. They haven't won more than the Hawks, and he doesn't play much defense either. Yeah, I mean they're in the West.
Trae Young missed the playoffs, he would be getting raked over the
West
on social
media. In the West, it's a little different. I'll grant that, but like they have the same deficiencies, and Luka gets none of that shit. But that's not the conversation you wanted to have.
We're not doing this. I can't do it. I physically can't do it. I cannot. I'm protecting my mental health here. I'm not doing it. I'm not taking the bait, Max Marcovitch. However, speaking of like how we're feeling as a whole, feeling good or feeling great. This is something that I was thinking about as a whole. Like you see wide receiver 1, like the Falcons put out today, like tight end 1, and wide receiver one with Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Garrett, are you feeling good, or are you actually feeling great? And we're lumping Kyle Pitts into this discussion about the wide receiver room for the Falcons this year, because I've seen a lot more people.
Well done, nephew. Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.